Welcome back. This is Chris Fulton, Advisory Consultant for ServiceNow. This is the first video, Reporting 101, and we're going to talk about how do you start out with reporting in ServiceNow. In this video, we're going to stay in the list view and show some of the powerful capabilities that we have for sorting, filtering, grouping, and then launching into an interactive analysis, all from the list view, even without going into the reporting engine within ServiceNow. So without further ado, let's jump into my instance. Okay, now I'm looking at my instance of ServiceNow, and I'm looking at a list of incidents. In this list of incidents, you can see that I've got some number of incidents. In this case, 2,088 are currently showing. And if you look in the upper left-hand corner here, you'll see that I have all of the incidents that are assigned to Jane Worker or Able Tutor. So this is a filtered view of records. I can go back to all records just by selecting on the all here in my filter, and you'll see that it clears that filter, and then in the lower right hand corner you'll notice that now I have 7,063 records. So this is a list view within ServiceNow, and while this is not the reporting engine, this is a very powerful place to start when you want to start understanding the data that's in your environment. And we're going to walk through how do I sort and filter and query this data without writing any SQL, without doing anything other than pointing and clicking and typing in some fields. So the first thing I'll show is across the top you'll see these search boxes for each of the column headings. I can come in very easily and say I want to look for any short description that begins with email, and just by typing email and hitting enter I see that there's 139 records. Maybe I meant to look for any short description that contains the word email instead of starts with, and so I put an asterisk in front of it, and now I have 359 records. While I'm doing all these, notice here at the top the breadcrumb that gets created. So this is all all incidents where the short description contains email, and this will change as I interact with the data. I'm going to go ahead and clear that filter. And then I can come in here and now I can start to analyze the data a little differently. So let's say that I don't want any incidents that are in the closed state. So I can right click on the word closed under the state column and choose filter out. And now those records are gone from my view and I'm down to 709 records. Likewise, I can say I only want to see those in a state that's not closed, but also where the priority is critical. So I right click on critical, choose show matching, and now if you look at the filter in the upper left hand corner you'll see where it says all records where the state is not closed and the priority equals 1. So just by pointing and clicking I can get to the data that I want to see very quickly, very easily. Now while this is creating a filter, you'll notice here that if I open up this filter view, it shows me exactly what's going on. So the priority is critical, the state is not closed, and I could build one of these from scratch, so I can get rid of the ones that are there, and I can start to now say where the assigned to is Able Tutor, run that, and build my query in this method as well if I would like to. So you can use either method. You can right click and choose filter out or show matching. You can come in here and create the filter in this fashion as well. Either method works as well, depending on what you're doing. Sometimes this is the easier way to do it. Maybe I want to say where the caller, I want to say where the caller, and in this case I want to say assigned to Able Tutor, but the caller is me. So there's this special Boolean operation called isDynamic, and what this does is anytime somebody views this report or this list of records, it's going to be dynamic in that the caller will be their user record, whoever they are. Now we'll see if Able has any, and yes, we see Able was assigned to a number of incidents where we were the caller, so the system administrator in this case. So that's just another way you can use this. Something else that's interesting is when you start working with dates. So if I want to look at the open date, I can start to do some really interesting things. So maybe you want to look at incidents that were open between a certain set of dates from May 1st to June 1st, or after some period of time. So I can say after, and then I can say, we'll say days, last 90 days. So these would be all the records assigned to Able Tutor that I opened, I was the caller, and within the last 90 days. And there's not likely to be any of these. Okay, there's one record. So very simply, I can use these filter conditions in different ways depending on the data type. So if it's just an assigned to in this case, we can say is not, is empty, and so forth. The dynamic filter allows me to apply a filter in this case where the caller is myself. And then when you start looking at dates, you can be dynamic in the dates to look at specific date ranges after or before a certain time and so forth. So I'd encourage you to go in and experiment with this as you're looking at how to create different reports and filter down your subset of data to really understand how this works. The other thing I can do is, now that I've created this filter, I can drag this filter to the left and put it in my favorite bar. And just by clicking on that now, I can get to that subset of data. I have one saved here for all of my incidents, so I can go back and forth very quickly, and I can apply that filter and get back to that subset of data. Now, in of itself, this is just a list of records, and I'm working within the incident list. It's not a report in the sense that we're not in the reporting engine yet, so I can't schedule this, I can't share this with others. But for what a lot of our customers do, this may be a good starting point. So I'm going to take you to a different subset of records, that a filter I've saved before, and I may want to then take that data and I want to export that. So there's lots of options to export the data. I can go out to a CSV or an Excel file or a PDF and so forth. So just within the list view, not even being in the report generator yet, I can still take this data and use it externally. Once we get into the next section, we'll talk about how to schedule these reports and save those and have them emailed to certain people and so forth. The next thing I want to show you from a list view is analyzing the data. And we're going to start out with just a simple grouping. So by right-clicking on any column heading, in this case I'm choosing category, I have the option group by category, and you'll notice this sidebar on the left that gets generated. So these are all the categories, because that's the column I right-clicked on, and it breaks it down by category type. I can interact with this, so if I unselect all and maybe I only want to see network and inquiry, I can just select those, and you'll notice that the data set changes to match what I'm working on. Here's the two pieces of data, inquiry and network, and this is interactive, so as I select one of these, the data set in the right-hand side changes to match whatever I'm selecting on the left-hand side. So the grouping is another way that you can analyze the data once you've sorted and filtered the data. Now I can start to analyze it by group, by category, whatever column you want to start managing that by. Another way that you can look at this data is to use the interactive analysis. So I'm going to go to all records, and I want to analyze by category. So I can right-click on category, choose Launch Interactive Analysis. And what this is going to do is create an interactive dashboard where I can start to analyze the data. So let's take a look at this. So this is all of the incidents within the ServiceNow instance that I'm working on. You'll notice at the top I have some options I can change here. So I can change the grouping. Within the grouping I can change the stack. So this is group by priority, stacked by state, and that's represented in this bar chart. The aggregation in this case, it makes sense to do it by count of records, how many incidents. In some other records you may be analyzing, you may want to choose the average or sum as we're looking at numeric data. Here to the right, you'll see the heat map. So I can see that I have a lot of incidents that are in a closed state in the planning phase. Very quickly, if I want to hide those, I could get rid of the closed ones, reapply that by selecting the apply filter, and now I see a little bit more interesting data, right? These are ones that are open, and now I can start to work with these. So I've got 73 that are in progress but planning. At the bottom, these are all the records in a list view, and these are again by categorized by the priority, which is represented here. If I change this from priority to assigned to, you'll notice that the report will regenerate. It looks a little different up here. I can now start to see, okay, who's got incidents assigned to them, but the list view also changes at the bottom to represent that data. So the interactive analysis is a really great way to start understanding the data, start working with it without having to build any type of dashboards or reports. Directly from a list view, I can get to this and start to analyze my data. I can add any type of filter here. So here I can filter by business service or when the incident was open. I can select the incident state, category, priority, and group, and so forth. So it's very simple to interact with. So I'd encourage you to also come in here and look at a set of your data and start to manage that within the interactive analysis and see how that works for you. All right, so that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. In the next video, we'll get into the report writer and start to see how to create and schedule and interact with reports within ServiceNow. As always, if you have any questions, send me an email, but thanks for listening.